allegations. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right?
Simmons, now the latest big name, left to defend himself.
9 women accused Simmons of a wide range of misconduct, from vulgar language to assault to 4 instances of rape.
What did he do? He raped me right up against the wall. Excuse my language. But that's what he did. It's a secret.
He showed up naked wearing a condom and tackled me to his bed while I screamed and fought and said no and cried. That's rape.
If the allegation...
I'm sorry, New York.
Why would all these women accuse you?
I heard someone else say that.
Oh, let me turn it up.
I'm quite frivolous. Look, there's a song by Houdini. I'm a hoe.
By the way, they're in Bali, so that's why you hear all the like the crickets or whatever in the background. I'm sorry about that noise. It's not me.
3 different girls after every show. Culturally, we thought that was the right way. And the number of sexual partners and compromising positions I put myself in is beyond anybody's imagination.
You said you had more foursomes than most men have partners.
Yeah, you know, and that wasn't really that. Was just, I think it was cultural and silly and egotistic and sad and from an insecurity that feeds it, and a lot of reasons why we were that way. If you slept with as many people I slept with, thousands. And we're talking about 6 people.
There were like 20, right? I mean,
I spoke poorly. Oh, you mean like that's not? No, I spoke poorly to 15 of them. I mean, 12 of them. I spoke poorly all the time.
Okay. So the way he's framing it is that he was very sexually active, obviously, but also, you know, the way he's trying to set this is like, well, you know, it's just things that we did, and you know, we have foursomes, fivesomes, ordering all that. You know, the way he's just playing it off. And then when he says that last line, when he's all like, hold on, let me go back a little.
I spoke poorly.
That's what it was. He spoke poorly to some of them. That's what it is. Oh, I spoke poorly to some of these women, and that's why. And so, as you guys will hear, he says, like, you know, maybe his tone and the stuff that he would say was wrong, but he never forced himself and da-da-da-da-da. You know, rightfully defending himself.
15 of them. I mean, 12 of them. I spoke poorly all the time. I'm a Def Comedy Jam guy. I was crude. So how many compromising situations was I in? And if you call that person and say, can you help me help these other women, then you can get them to tell a story and reimagine a story. And I'm not here to say what they were thinking, but I can simply tell you that I was in so many compromising situations that people can have a recollection from 30 or 40 years ago. And it can be different from my recollection. And it could be one where there was perhaps collaboration. If we had more foursomes than most guys had once, could someone leave and feel hurt? Could someone leave and feel they wish they hadn't?
So basically, he's saying like, oh, basically they're just bitter. These are just bitter women who, oh, all of a sudden I had relations with them or whatever, and they felt like regretful, basically. And let's be honest, we've had some encounters where we felt regretful, but even with feeling regretful, we ain't ever said somebody X, Y, and Z me, you know?
Would reimagine a story out of thousands of people? Could someone want notoriety in a market where people thirst for fame, even infamous? Could someone who just came out of jail and want to sue you because they had an experience and they can reimagine it just a little bit different? And could you be vulnerable enough to accept it? I took 9 lie detector tests. People don't know that. 9 separate. 7 from the chairman of the Polygraph Association. 1 for each of the serious accusations. 1 for when someone said, for instance, I was violent. One person said that.
Okay, so he said he took 9 polygraph tests, and we all know lie detector tests don't tell you ish. Basically, you can pass because if you believe your lie, you're able to pass. But he's trying to say, "Oh, I took the polygraph test and it came back that I was telling the truth," and he's still trying to deflect and defend himself.
Never been violent. Took that. Once I apologized, I never apologized about assaulting anyone. But if 2 people say it, because one said it and me too, and the second person said it, then I took a test for it. 3 hours per test by 2 polygraph examiners. One that I've never done this to anyone and one I've never done to each individual. Some people say that they're not accurate, but if they're 94% accurate, I did 9 of them. It's pretty clear that I don't believe it. I even asked what if I believe it, but it's not true? He said, your subconscious will get you. I don't know how true that is, but that's what was told to me by the chairman of the Polygraph Association. He was filmed, by the way, talking about this. So there's footage available. No one in the mainstream would cover that.
Why do you think that is?
There's a narrative.
Which is what?
So he's saying that nobody will cover it because, the narrative, and you'll also hear him blame Me Too, like the Me Too movement and stuff like that. And granted, I'm just going to be honest. Everybody who comes out, do I just believe everybody? No, that's definitely false. I don't believe that, just believe all victims. Like, no, like, let's get the facts. Like, tell me your story. Tell me what happened and why I should believe that this is true. I just don't believe, because shit, being on YouTube, there's people who accuse you of doing horrible things. So if we believed everything that somebody said about a YouTuber, we all be in trouble. So yeah, you gotta have thought, and make sure you guys hit that like button. Thank you, I appreciate that. And also, you can send a super chat, super sticker, or Cash App, PayPal, Venmo.
We don't want to go backwards. We want to believe with it. But women and celebrities may be in some cases a little different. But we don't want to not believe women. We have to believe women. We have to give them the benefit of the doubt, but we can't demonize people without proof either. Twitter cannot make a decision. I've never spoken to a policeman. I've never spoken to a judge about anything. So who is the judge and the jury here? Maybe you haven't lived in the real world. It's gray. No one's intentionally hurt anybody. It's a big difference. No one pushed anybody in. Being pushy is different from pushing someone. It's very gray.
Rape is a strong allegation. In some of these stories, or that you pin women down. Like bad stuff. Either happened or it didn't, right?
Yeah, it's a serious word, but I think they've changed the meaning.
How so?
Because I've never been violent to anybody. The rape is a violent crime. So it is a very serious. You might jump out of bush and rape somebody. It's different, I think. So
I forgot to say, trigger warning, but I think for the most part, everybody in here, y'all knew about the Russell Simmons allegations, right? Put a 1 in the chat if you knew about the Russell Simmons allegations and stuff, right? I should have said that because he does say, the R word. A lot of people say grape, but I feel like that kind of tells you what the word is, even when you say grape. Right, Jay. Right. It don't have to be violent. Like, I think everybody's thinking, or usually you hear that, like, oh, I've never been violent. Well, you don't have to be violent. Like, for years and years. Wow. Okay, here we go.
We're different kind of recollection. So I don't think anybody's saying I'm violent. Of course, I've been insensitive, but certainly I've never been forceful in any of my relationships. All of what I've had has been consensual.
What errors in judgment do you think you made, looking back?
My goodness. We all need to learn to be better listeners, all of us. I think that the culture and the climate was different, and the way people interacted was different. And I think to judge 40 years ago as if it was today, we get in trouble. We have to accept where we were and move on and be somewhere else in the future if we don't like where we were. And I think that we're doing that now. And I think that the good that comes from me too. And, you know, I think this next generation should be more sensitive, and we should have a new way forward. And this is helping us to form a new way forward. It's a great movement. It's done a lot of great work for women. It's sensitized men in ways they were not sensitized. And for that, I'm grateful.
If you had a do-over with that period, what do you think you would do differently?
A lot, but I don't have a do-over. This is the thing.
You know what I find crazy? I just feel like when you get, this is going to be weird, off topic, but still on topic. I feel like when you're at a certain point in your career, I think it's always best to just go ahead and make sure you get some NDA signed and like some agreements, or have you maybe not a witness in the bedroom, but you know, somebody there to like kind of protect you and stuff like that. It's just all like, when you're a celebrity, I don't think you should be having random hookups and stuff like that. Like, there's a lot that you can lose as it's different between me and you having a random hookup, but a celebrity, I just feel like you should just be so much more careful. And this is not saying that what happened to the women didn't happen. I don't know, because I've only heard a few stories. I haven't heard everybody's story. Remember, it's like, I think 17 or 20 women or something like that. But again, I'll just be all like, well, where are the NDAs? Like, hey, you agree, or, you know, you don't talk about our relationship. NDAs does not stop illegal activity. True. That is true. You're right. All right.
Practicing being here now and accepting what you learned and move forward. We can't do over. I haven't spoken to anybody for 5 years. It's ruined my life. It's ruined my relationship with a lot of everything. All my 5 charities have gone down. I had a lot of work. I had a lot of people I was trying to help. I had a lot of things I was doing, and I've been locked out of it. I don't want this to be the trigger to turn everything around again.
But at some point, somebody's going to ask you about this. So why not do it in a controlled environment where
then the control, you want to grab?
No.
All right, well, let's go.
Explain why November 23 is an important month for you.
Oh, well, you know, they've had a year, the accuser, to sue me, and I haven't been sued. But I kind of believe that a lot of stuff's been the media. First of all, 40-year-old stories are quite hard to prove, I guess. But in civil suits, maybe not. But they're 40-year-old stories, but they've been covered by the media. But I can't speculate on.
No, I do want to say, as I understand that there hasn't been any like civil cases against him for this. I know one of the major reasons why he did leave was it was actually some business practices, and you know, he ain't got no more money. And you have to remember, his business was also tied up with Kimora Lee Simmons' ex-husband, the rich billionaire that he was supposed to be or whatever. Well, he had a whole Ponzi scheme and stuff like that. So somehow Russell, I have to go back and get the story, but somehow Russell Simmons' money is tied up with that whole thing. And then he feels like he's been cheated out. Kimora denies it all. But I mean, yeah, that we're going to do another video on that. I just want to go ahead with this stuff.
Why? I haven't been sued, but, you know, we're talking about 6 serious accusations.
What did you think of the doc?
I didn't watch it.
Why not?
Because it's not true. And I think that Oprah said the stories don't add up.
Oprah also came out and said she believed the women.
I stand in support of these women. I believe them. It was a hard decision because I knew that Russell Simmons had started publicly pressuring me, and that me pulling out of the documentary was going to look like I was being pressured.
How do you square the two?
Well, she said she believed women, but if you want to call Oprah, I can give you her number. She made a movie about some women, and then made it very public that she was making the movie and that she made the movie. And then she walked away. She has not come back in support. Isn't she a supporter of Black women or not? You should call her. She will not defend those women. Those Black women that she said she supported, she won't.
So we heard Oprah actually say like she backed away from the film on her own. Like there was not like it had nothing to do with him saying like she didn't believe the women. She actually said, no, I do believe the women in the movie, but she backed away from it. But she didn't want it to look like it had anything to do with him.
She cried on the phone to multiple witnesses that she didn't even know, because she learned that hurt people, and that her stories, as an investigative journalist herself, she knew those stories should never have been printed, much less made a movie about.
What conversations did you and Oprah have during that process?
Well, the first thing I called her and I said, I'm glad it's you making the movie, because people rush to judgment, and you're a reporter. I said, well, have you spoken to anybody who was there at the time or around that time? And then she called them. She studied them. She read their books. And then that's caused her to walk away from the movie.
What she had said, just to be clear on like CBS,
Here we go.
was that she felt more time was needed, and
To make a
because
whole
the
documentary,
producers
not about me.
wouldn't.
She said to change it. She said to change the whole thing. Is what she told me. She told him she wanted to change the entire thing to a documentary about men in general, about the whole music industry, and that I couldn't be a subject anymore because she had found too much contradictory evidence about the stories about me. That's what she told them. And that's what you could ask her that. Everybody she interviewed, she taped. She taped about 20 witnesses. Those tapes are available. If you're investigating this, maybe you should dig into those tapes. I don't want to go far into this discussion because it is a very sad moment. It was the most traumatizing experience of my entire life. It hurt my children.
Now he's putting it back on
People
him.
with 40 accusations, you'd be interviewing them right now, and this subject wouldn't come up. So I feel a little bit targeted, but please continue.
And I was going to say, to be clear, this is not an investigation. You have not really talked about this before, and so I was merely trying to get your thoughts on
I don't want to
this.
sound defensive, but yes, I told my children I would not speak about this.
Yoga, GDOS, and Hip Hop 50 are the three remaining topics, and I want to get a little bit with you sitting down about yoga and GDOS.
All right. So there's another clip, but I haven't watched, where he says, my ex-wife stole millions to bail out her criminal husband. So it's called Russell Simmons. My ex-wife stole millions to bail out her criminal husband. Okay, we're going to go ahead and check this one out. This is 7 minutes.
What do you like as a partner in marriage?
I must have been a partner. When I hear, no, I was very generous and tried to be supportive. We were together 15 years, Kimora and I. And for 8 years, we were married. Another 7 before that, we were back and forth. And then I was best friends with Kimora throughout the entire raising of my children. I'm the godfather to all 3 of our other children. I was good friends with Jaimin. I was good friends with this Tim Leisner. So I tried to be
That's the criminal husband.
Accommodating and supportive. And then, you know, sometimes things don't work out. You've seen there's a lawsuit. I had no choice. I think Jesus Christ, Muhammad, Lord Buddha, anybody would have sued. What? It's a lot of money, and it can help a lot of people. She gave what is now, today, based on the stock, $800 million to the government illegally. And now I'm fighting to get my half of it back. And it was in support of Tim, who, as you know, is a convicted criminal. And they stole, I think it was $6 to $8 billion from the Malaysian people. And his bail was my stock, which had no right to be.
Kimora alleges that you didn't use any of your own money to buy the stock. You didn't use.
Oh yeah, not alleges. Tim paid for the stock.
Own money to invest in her investment company.
It was my company. Tim put money in my company, and we bought the stock. It's obvious. The government will figure that out. It was mine. I found the company. I built the company. I reformulated the drink. I got LeBron and Kobe and Kim Kardashian and Puffy and everybody promoted. It was nothing. And now it's worth $16 billion, right? And I was part of that process. In fact, it would never have existed if not for me. That's a fact. So I did the work and I owned the stock. And then one day they just took it behind my back and gave it to the government as his bail. And then it was only worth $60 or $70 million. Then plenty of money for me. I'm a billionaire. I live in Bali. It's cheap. I have what I have. I'm happy.
He said he's a billionaire, not a billionaire, a billionaire. He's like, it's cheap to live here. It's cheap.
The fact that it's going to ballooned up to 800 million is quite a. Maybe I should thank everybody, when it gets all resolved. But in the short term, there are people I can't help. There are philanthropic, social, and political concerns that I would normally help.
What are the steps that have to happen?
Oh, I don't even go into legality. Well, the government has now moved back and said they want to negotiate. They don't want to go to trial over it. And they want to go to forfeiture. So they said they're going to negotiate. We hope that we can make a reasonable. I hate that I give them anything. I offered them 10% of my half. And then she's sitting on a bunch of it that she can't cash either. So the stock is totally at the mercy of the market, how much money it is. Mm-hmm. And it goes up sometimes, what's equal to $100 million and down. Mm-hmm. I built this hotel thinking I had the stock too. So from a liquidity standpoint, it really put a crunch.
Yeah, I believe it's Celsius. Yeah.
Liquidity, I can go do a lot of shit. I didn't make rap on money like Kanye West. I was in a different era. But I made enough. And yes, there's a liquidity crunch. It's there. It's not, I'll survive.
How does it affect you?
The only thing that affects me about this is my children being upset with me. I love them more than I love everything. And when my children have a narrative about...
And we remember when his daughter had released those text messages of him going off on her, and she was all like, yeah, he's mentally abusive.
I mean, that is not accurate. And my children actually publicly say that I've been in some way not acted well. I've always been the one to hold space for them. They can curse me out, yell at me. They know that I love them unconditionally, that I cannot unlove them.
Because there was a period where they called you emotionally abusive. They thought you might be mentally ill.
Do I seem mentally ill to you? I mean, you never know what's in the back of my head. Well,
gaslighting.
When I first...
Okay. I'm going to stop it right there. So this is the reason why I find it hard to believe him. Just because he started out I can't say started out, but just knowing the history between him and Kimora. He started dating Kimora Lee Simmons when she was a sophomore. She was only 16. I think she would have been 15, but she claimed 16. And just like I played you guys in the beginning of the video, I'm going to play it right now. And she also talks about how she had to cover up things for him too as well. So that's what has me thinking like, okay, what else does Kimora know?
This person, when I was in high school in St. Louis, Missouri, I was modeling. I was 16 years old. Like, I've known you, and everybody knows. Again, that's documented. You can see. I believe I was maybe a sophomore. I know it was before junior prom and senior prom because I went to both of those proms alone with my friends when I was dating them. So it was definitely long before junior and senior prom. I think it was around sophomore year of high school. And again, everybody knows this in my life. They know I was walking around, they see me. The point of it is I've known you a long time and I've seen lots of stuff and I just choose to not go there. Lots of things that I could say over the time. I'm typically the one that he and others would call to have their back, right? I'm the one that they would call to solidify everything, to validate everything. If you always look, whenever they get into trouble, they always want to hop up on the live and do a half screen with me. Again, this was years ago because we don't speak now.
Yeah, they'll call her when when they get in trouble, and because they're not on good terms right now, he can't necessarily call and be like, "Hey, can you get me out of this one?" Um, it's just really sad, and it just shows how manipulative somebody could be. And just knowing, and granted, it could be a thing where she wanted to take advantage of him, and here's this producer or record label owner. Actually, I'm sorry. Um, he can take me out my situation. She was a young model. Why not go along with it? Like, I believe when you're 16, you probably don't know that you're being manipulated and gaslit and groomed. You don't really know that at that age. She probably caught on to the game later, and that's probably why she allegedly took his money later on. But she wasn't so smart at that time to know she was 16. I wouldn't know what to do either. But just knowing that, it always just left a bad taste in my mouth. And it had been a thing for years that, oh, she was only 16, but Kimora finally confirmed it during the summer when that whole thing happened between him and his daughter. And just knowing that, that's why I was all like, Russell, like, I'm not gonna say you force yourself on these women and stuff like that, but it just shows me how manipulative you can be and how predatory that is, because 16 is not even legal in Missouri. She's from Missouri, right? St. Louis. So in New York it's 17, in Missouri it's 17 as well too. She was 16 at the time. So even then, you got to remember, Russell Simmons was, I believe he was like 30. He was in his 30s. It's between 31, 35, but he was in his 30s when he got with her. Like, what are you doing with this 16-year-old at the time? You could have had anybody else, any other model, but you chose her. And also, during a lot of these cases, were they around the time when he was with Kimora Lee Simmons? It's just a lot of different questions I have, you know? The laws have changed. Okay, so it could have been 16 at that time. It's gross. What's up, Lori? Thank you for being here. Sing something before I go. And what you want with a team. Exactly. Because let's take it here. Even if it is legal, because like you said, it changed during the time. Okay, even if it was legal, as a 30-year-old, would you date a 16-year-old, even if it's legal? Especially somebody in high school. She was in high school, y'all. She said she couldn't take a date to junior and senior prom because everybody already knew she was with Russell Simmons. So she couldn't even take a date. She didn't even get to experience, having a date and stuff like that, going to prom. Whole thing is just weird to me. Right, right. And like the thing is that Kimora Lee, now this was taken like a little bit afterwards, but back in the day, like she looked young. You know what I mean? She looked young. It didn't give like, oh, she looks like an older woman, very, no, she looked young. Even here, she was in her 20s by then, but well, not 20s. I think she was like 19 here, but she looked young. She didn't look like a little, I mean, a grown woman. So just imagine when she was a sophomore what she looked like, you know? Exactly, and he looked old. Right. Yeah, that's the other thing. Her mom like allowed it. Why would you allow something like that? Let me see. How old was Russell Simmons when he dated Kimora? They said he was in his 30s, but it's not giving me an exact date. Well, not date, but age. Yeah, I just said he was in his 30s. Either way, it was wrong. That's it. Right, right. Ooh, damn. Chuck E. Cheese, right. And again, she's a young girl. This guy is sweeping you off your feet. He got money. Shit, of course she was gonna go with him. You know? Yeah, but after that, that just never sat right with me, finding that out with the whole how she was a sophomore and he was with her and he's in his 30s. You know, it's not one of these like, oh, he was like 19, 20. No, he was a grown ass man. Grown. It's sad. Her youth was gone. Parents' mind, but parents cannot control what older teens do, right? Especially when the person going after them are offering them money, trips. Exactly. They probably wanted the lifestyle. Hey, he got money. He's a good guy. Why not? And that was like a thought process back in the day too, as I've learned. There's other stories I just haven't talked about them because I was like, damn, how do I even do a video on this without people getting mad? But I mean, you'll hear that like back in the day, oh well, he has a job, he has money, why not? You know, even though these girls were like teenagers, because back in the day, you know, women would just get married, have babies. That was a thing. It's very deep when you think about it. You know, very deep. Right, R. Kelly, the money, the opportunity, the fame. Oh, Veronica, Bali doesn't have extradition, so he can't be like if he's ever convicted of anything, he can't be extradited or nothing. So that's why he's in Bali now. He claiming that he just went there because it's cheap, but a lot more to that. Mm. And that's the way it should be, princess. You're right about that. That's the way it should be. Mm. All right, you guys, I have a headache. Like my head is bothering me. I was gonna try to hang out another 30 minutes and let y'all come up, but my head is killing me right now. So I'm gonna try to. Maybe I need to eat. Maybe that's what it was. I haven't ate since. Actually, what time did I eat? Around 1 o'clock, and now is 10:42 right now. I know you ain't supposed to eat late, but maybe that's why I got a headache. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to work that out. But thank you guys for being here. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you already haven't. Thank y'all for again getting me to 37K. I really appreciate it. Y'all have a good night. Make sure y'all show love to everybody. Do not spread any hate. But tomorrow we will be terrorizing. So make sure you guys are ready for that. But we out of here, y'all. Deuces.